Hello, BookTube. This is just going to be a quick wrap up for the month of June. This won't be everything I read in June because I'm making a separate video about the reading Josh's favorite books, and I'm going to include those in that wrap up differently. But anyway, this is just a quick what I read for June. There's some June on the Range stuff in here too, which is very nice. It starts off very early when I just didn't do it. But anyway, let's start. So the first things I read for June, it was Doc and Epitaph by Mary Doyle Russell, and these blew me away. I think I liked Doc, but oh my god, Epitaph, one of my favorite books ever. In the last, like, in terms of books that have come out within the last, like, what, 15 years, this is easily one of my favorite books ever. I love it to death. It's up there with Duck's Newberry Port as one of my new favorite books ever. It's just incredible. Her writing is just so lovely. For me, I don't know if Epitaph tops The Sparrow because that's tough competition, but I feel like they're on the same level. But I can definitely see how Epitaph, people would consider that to be a bit more, like a more ambitious, and they're just great novels. And so I read those two. Those were my first westerns I pretty much ever read, and so I read that. And then I read my first Louis L'Amour novel. I read The Daybreakers, and I read my first Zane Grey novel, which was Riders of the Purple Sage. I read these early on in the month, so I literally can't remember what they're about, so they kind of left my mind. But I remember really enjoying the writing of both of them. And if I ever find any secondhand, because when I went book shopping this month, I tried to look for westerns, and I literally couldn't find any, and so I was stuck doing these as ebooks. But again, if I see these two authors, I'm picking up because I really had a lovely time reading them. And then I read I got into some Australian bushrangery stuff because it's also kind of like our version of westerns. I read Robbery Under Arms by Rolf Bollerwood. This is pretty much a western set in Australia. It's set in the gold rush, and you got Captain Starlight, the bushranger, and it's just following those type of bushrangers for that time period. I thought it was really lovely. I can see how it's definitely a classic. I don't have my copy of it right now, but I enjoyed it. It was really good. And then I was like, I'm gonna do some non-fiction too. So then I read A History of Bushranging by Charles White. This was split into two volumes, and this is easily the best history of bushranging I've ever read. It came out in, like, the early, like, 1900s, like the last, I don't know, 1910 or whatever, and it was just incredible. You always think because of, like, Ned Kelly that the bushrangers were always larger than life, but then you realize they were just like criminals that just got lost in the bush and died. Like, that's literally it. But if you want a good history of bushrangers in Australia, it's the best one easily. You'll probably find it in the Australian Classics line, which is a hardcover. So you get like a nice hardcover too, and there's some lovely drawings in there too. So I read that. That was lovely. And then I read a new release, Murderland: Crime and Bloodlust in the Time of Serial Killers by Caroline Fraser. This was the same girl who done oh my god, what's it called? God's Perfect Child, about the Church of Science, and I love that one to death. But this one didn't do much for me. This was pretty much Caroline being like, hey, all these famous American murderers come from the same, like, state. Isn't that a bit weird? And she didn't really go into that as much because I think, you can't really write about that because it's not a solid enough idea. It's just a bit more of a coincidence than an actual linking, a link between all these killers. But the thing that saved it, beside the fact that it was really misleading, was that the short biographies of each of the killers was really well done too, and I really appreciated that. So I read that, and then I read Great Expectations by Mr. Dickens, of course. This was a reread for me. I read it as a teen years and years ago, but it's time for me to reread it. And what did I think of it? I thought it was fine. I've never had any care for Great Expectations. I definitely don't consider it to be the greatest English novel ever. I don't believe that at all. I know some people do, and I can see how people really like this book, and it is more refined in terms of, like, Dickens's coming of age novels and all that. Like, it's better than an Oliver Twist or a Nicholas Nickleby for me. But I get it, but it's a personal thing. It's just not for me. So I read that, and then I read the short stories, Dostoevsky's The Gambler and Other Stories, which was incredibly dark and lovely. I love all those short stories in that Penguin. I don't have it with me right now, but that was lovely as well. So I did do that, and I just done like a short story a day because they're quite tiny, and but not my favorite short stories though. I like The Gambler. It's fine. And those other ones, you can tell they were a bit more earlier short stories for Dostoevsky, and they're fine. What else did I read? I read um, a, a biography of Robert Menzies, Sir Robert Menzies. He was our prime minister just after or during World War Two. He was pretty much in charge until the 60s. He was in office for, he had two terms as prime minister, and he served a total of 18 years as prime minister, which is absolutely insane. But yeah, he's fine. I don't consider him to be the greatest prime minister we've had. I think he's important in terms of defining what being an early figure in the Liberal Party. And pretty much the only thing I knew going in was that he was extremely paranoid about communism in Australia. And he tried to get rid of. We had a communism party here in Australia, and he tried to get rid of it through the courts, and it didn't work. But the party sort of faded out because no one really wanted that here. And the biography was really well. I enjoyed learning about Menzies, and it's oh my god, how's it's laid out. It's not laid out chronologically. It's laid out by his economic policies, and it would have a big chunk of about his life and what he'd done, and it'll move on to different parts of government, and you'll get the full biography that way instead of it being chronological. And I enjoyed it. I think this is, I don't even know when the last book of him came out. This came out probably 5, 6, 7 years ago. And again, it's really lovely. It's a great place to start if you want to do Australian politics. But yeah, Robert Menzies fine. He doesn't do much for me. Then I read the last one here I have today. Um, it's one of my favorite romance. We have a new favorite romance here. Texas Destiny by Lorraine Heath. Go and get it. Scram, go and get it. It is. I was swooped away by this romance. It was better than any of the westerns I read besides Epitaph. This, oh my god, I can't even get. It's just so sweet and lovely, and I need to find a copy of it. And the fact it's a trilogy, I didn't do the others too. I only got through the first one this month. But Texas Destiny is about this lady who's arranged to marry this man, and who lives on the farm or whatever. But he can't go to collect her, so he sends his younger brother, and they have to travel together. And it's very much like, oh, we've only got the one horse, or like we've only got like the one. I don't know. It's like that type of tropes, and I loved it. I was swooped away. I love the romance in this. The writing was really well done. It's just one of my favorite romances ever now. I'm addicted, and I need to finish this series. And who thought this is probably the first like Western romance I really really loved. And maybe Lorraine Heath could be a favorite author. I never see, the thing is with me, whenever I go book shopping, like secondhand, I never see romances secondhand. Like your terms, like your step back paperbacks and all. I never see them. I always feel so hurt. I never see Georgia Hare, and it crushes me every time I go somewhere new and there's none. But that's okay because I can always order online, but it's not the same. And so that's what I read. I read Texas Destiny, and I really want to continue with the rest of that trilogy. But yeah, that was a quick wrap up of some of the other books I read throughout June. And yeah, let me know what you thought about these books in the comments below, and tell me what you read in June. Thank you so much for watching BookTube, and I'll see you next time.